Positive. We're pretty inspirational. This morning I'm talking about a lot of different things, and I know that I'm going to be all over the place with, I'm going to talk about language, body language. I'm going to talk about joy, love, laughter, and I promise you I'm going to tie it all up in the end, okay? I'm going to tie it all up together so that we know that they all do relate. I don't know how many of you follow on social media, and there are a couple of guys that I wish I'd looked to see what the name of it is, but they're Norwegian, and they have shorts, and they're actually making fun of other countries is what they're doing, but they're doing it in such a way that it is incredibly funny. And because Norway and Sweden were once, there should have been one country, but they kind of make fun of the Swedes more than anybody else. But I have found myself watching, and then, I don't know how much time later, I realize how long I've been watching, and I need to quit. I know you all don't do that, right? You would never do that. But basically what they're talking about is they're talking about other people, their nuances, their habits, their languages, and the way their behaviors. And so one of the ones I thought was incredibly funny was just a short about them, and you really don't even need words. You just here's what happens, let's say in this little episode, when people are notified they need to wait. And so the Norwegian, of course, is just standing there, and he's happy to wait. He's quite, not anxious at all. He's happy with that situation. And then they show on the screen an Englishman. And of course, he's looking for a cup of tea and his umbrella. And that's pretty much the way they are. I used to work with a firm that was British and worked with a lot of Brits. And I know exactly how they are and their nuances and the way they tilt their head and the way they hold their bodies. It's different. Trust me. And you know that too, if you've worked with people from different countries. And then they show the German, and I'm learning a lot by doing this. They're very safety conscious. Make sure he has his hard hat on and he's got all the equipment he needs so nothing will happen, while he's waiting. And then the Scot, he's looking around for his bagpipes. Of course, Irishman, he's doing a little jig. And but the fellow from the United States, this is the funny one. And in the United States, we've got a bad rap around the world, apparently, with this reputation, but I guess it's true. I don't know. Maybe it's how they look at us. He's immediately looking for his cell phone and starts playing with it for a few minutes. Then he decides he's hungry, so he dials somebody holding his phone like this, of course, and yeah, I'll take a pizza. Yeah, I'll throw in some fries with that, and I got to have a giant Coke. And then, since you're coming, throw in a burger and an apple pie. And a lot of the episodes are like that with the one that's from the United States. And I'm thinking, do they think that's what we eat? Burger, pizzas, and apple pies and fries all the time? I guess. Large Cokes. There's always a Coke in his hand. Always. Okay, so actually, I do remember when I was in England in about the year 1993, and we were at a gathering, and I heard someone say, "There go those Americans looking for their Coke." And it was the truth. That's what we were doing. We were headed off looking for our Coke, for me, a Diet Coke, but it is true in the languages that you run into, but the facial expressions. What we're talking about today too is nonverbal communication, and how we do know what someone's thinking. As a matter of fact, if you get really good at body language, you study it a little bit, and you're really observant, it's going to be about as close as you can get to being a mind reader. Did you know that? It really is. You can read minds. As a matter of fact, this morning, Doug and I, he didn't know it, but we were having a conversation about his being a greeter and an usher, and he started giving me some gestures. That was cool. That was great. You never point he's a greeter at the bow, and you never point your finger at someone. And of course, he had a career in the Navy, right? Yeah, retired Navy. And that reminded me enough of another group of shorts that I saw on. You'd think I'd spend a lot of time on social media. I do not. But I did come across some things that were very entertaining and educational, things I didn't know. And that on the aircraft carrier, they have what's called an usher, and they usher the planes off and on, and it's one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, and it depends totally on body language and sign language, totally. And if you have not seen some of those, you really do. I mean, you need to make a note of this. Look those up, and if you haven't watched them, they have the sound of silence in the background, and it's all jazzy and, real upbeat. And on Fridays, they have dress down for these guys and gals that are ushering the jets on and off the carrier. And, they're doing moves. I wish I could make moves like that. I just wish I could make moves like that. An example? He's going. Some of those, and they're just, oh boy, they're flexible and down on the ground, but how important it is, I had no idea how that language without words was so explicit and important. But it's been fairly entertaining, so I'm going to quit, I promise. I was sharing that with Tony the other day at music rehearsal, and I was sharing it with him, and he said, yeah, and then about an hour later, you finally put your phone down, huh? Or I don't do social media on the phone. I do it on my computer the old-fashioned way when I watch it. So I got a big screen I'm looking at, so I can be highly entertained. But we do know a lot of the gestures, don't we? We know the classic eye roll. You know what that means. No one has to say a word. All they have to do is look at you and roll their eyes, just like Tony just did. And they're thinking this guy over here is nuts, or that gal on the stage is nuts. And or now I've noticed something. It's another new gesture, and it's raising the eyebrows. And I guess my granddaughter Shelby is better at that than anybody I know. She can say more with raising those eyebrows, and I can't even tell you what it all means. I just know that when she does it, you know exactly what she was inferring with that nonverbal communication. But if you get really good at it and watching body language, you will see that someone who is scowling, but I don't think you could say I love you with a scowl on your face, but someone that's scowling is giving an impression that they're unhappy, isn't it? It truly is. And I don't think a lot of people know how their facial expression shows. As a matter of fact, how unhappy they are, how angry they are, how disappointed, how whatever. but you can see with the body language. And even with the way you hold your shoulders, is that if you let your shoulders roll, that can be a negative posture, defensive. You're protecting yourself from something instead of holding the shoulders back, straight up. And there are just so many things that if you could learn if you studied body language and to know. Most of the things, though, that we are familiar with are things like a smile. You know what someone means with that, don't you? Universal language, smiling, joy, and laughter. One of my really good friends, if you were here last summer for our summer chat series, one of my really dear friends, Diane Brandhorst, I interviewed her one Sunday, and she's a really close friend that we have a bond of the heart, you could say. And that's because when I first knew her 30-something-year-old daughter was dying of cancer, and she wasn't able to be there. And it was just such a difficult time for her, and I did everything I could to sort of fill in the gap and listen and talk to her and just let her know I cared. So we have a deep bond. As someone said, she and her husband Bob have gone to Mexico for a while, but we know they'll be back. They can't stay away from us that long. But one of the things she said that Sunday is something that really touched me, and it's made me think about this more and more, about a smile and what it means. And when she was talking, she said something really funny, and I smiled real big. We were sitting right here on the stage. I smiled real big. She said, "Oh, Judy, I love that about you. When you smile, your eyes look just like Zoe does when Bob's rubbing her tummy." Isn't that sweet? Isn't that wonderful? And it was one of the greatest compliments I've ever had. Bob was here. He stood up right away. He said, "Now listen," she said, "rubbing Zoe's tummy. I don't rub Judy's tummy." I said, "Now, Bob, nobody misunderstood that." But it's because Zoe, and she's a beautiful little dog, she used to belong to Tina, and then Tina wasn't unable to take care of her, so gave her to Diane. And I was just thinking, well, the thing is, Zoe is just in a state of ecstasy and joy and love and absolutely no negativity at all. And that's what Diane was saying when she sees me smile and what my eyes look like. And that's because the smile goes all the way to my eyes. You know what I'm talking about? You can smile. You can smile a fake smile. You can. It doesn't go to the eyes, and everybody knows it. They know it. They know it. And so when you smile, though, and it'll even crinkle up your eyes, maybe it'll give you wrinkles like me. It's okay. You just live with them. But there's actually when that happens and you smile enough, there's a chemical that's released, oxytocin, to the brain, and it makes you happier. Did you know that? It makes you healthier. And so in the morning when I'm walking, I see so many of my friends. I routinely see John Lipscomb, and then I see John Kanegeiser, and I see so many other people, and then Lisa drives by on her way to school. By that time, I've already had most of my walk down by the beach, and I'm back on the land side when I see Lisa go by. But several people that are co-walkers, and we don't know each other's names, but we do know that we walk the beach together, and we always just smile and wave at each other. We're just genuinely so pleased to see each other. And I think that that's just something that we humans could do more of, more humanity. I was meeting the girls the other day and was going to the restaurant, and as I was going, I was walking in front of a pickup truck. And just at that moment, the young guy was on the pavement right beside, or the sidewalk right beside me, takes his remote. It was more important for him to beep that remote and know that his truck would, not just once, but twice, real loud horn, okay? If you all do this, quit. I'm asking you right now. When you get home, disengage the sound when you lock your vehicle. I have this happen to me all the time. Doesn't matter if I'm where I am, at the grocery, at the shopping center, at the wherever. And somebody that is so selfish and self-centered, and if that hits your heart, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Press that button so he can feel the power of his vehicle being shut. That's more important than someone else walking by about to have a heart attack because they were scared to death. I dropped the remote, it's okay. Let's see, that's what that cost me. But this was just last week. And I said to him, I mean, it really did. I was right in front of his truck. And he's over here, pushes the button twice, blares the horn loud twice. I'm standing right there. I just looked at him like this. I mean, absolutely no affectation to it. This was pure, what in the heck just happened? You know, shocking. And I said, that scared me witless. He said, oh, my bad, and walked off like a cowboy, like he just jumped off his truck, his horse. And he's walking on with a stagger like, well, I'm sorry, you know, but this is important to me, and my hearing that my truck is locked is more important than you. Anybody relate to that in any way? Find a different way to know that your vehicle is locked, okay? The first thing I did when we bought my car that I drive now is a 2019 Explorer. I buy the biggest not the biggest, but I've always wanted to have a vehicle that had a third seat where I can haul my grandchildren around, even though they're in their 20s now. I still make sure I have a vehicle that will be able to haul them. But anyway, when I got that car, and the one before it, and the one before that, the first thing I did was to disengage that. So I know if it clicks, if I get out of the car and I've hit the lock button, I know it's locked. What kind of other confirmation do I need? You can hear it. I don't need any other confirmation. So anyway, I don't know if I go on a campaign or a protest or something. You can go along with me. Anyway, sharing joy and laughter and it's a universal language. I remember reading that a man that was a producer had a terminal diagnosis, and he just sat for weeks and watched funny TV programs. Do you know he healed? The man healed. Laughter, just laughing for a brief period of time can give you, now they've researched this, it can give you one small laughter little laugh can give you 45 minutes of peace and well-being. As I was getting ready yesterday, and I'd been putting a lot together for I wanted the memorial service to be beautiful yesterday. I wanted it to be great. And I put everything I can into it because it's important. It's what I'm doing at this moment. But I also knew I needed to turn around and do something good today, right? So I had a fair bit on my mind. I like to be prepared. I don't want to do a half job if I'm going to do it. So I stood up, and Dan was in the living room there in his chair, and as I walked into the kitchen, I started humming, singing. I was singing. All the leaves are brown. And then I couldn't think of the words, and he reminded me, what were they, Dan? And the sky is gray. I went for a walk on a winter's day, California dreamin'. Anyway, something like that. So when I didn't remember the lyrics, he started chiming in. If you could have heard us, neither one of us, that's the best I can sing, and he can't carry a tune worth anything, but we just continued laughing about it. It was funny. We had been talking lately about when people start getting a little older, your cardiovascular system doesn't work as well as it did when you were younger. And so we were talking about the fact that when you stand up, you may need to give yourself a few minutes for the blood to reach your head or whatever it is. And I was talking about that, and Dan said, I think there's a T-shirt that says something like that. What was it, Dan? Do you remember the T-shirt?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Hello, dark.
I got up too fast again.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. That's from The Sound of Silence, too. I got up too fast again. Anyway, we laugh a lot. And I think laughter keeps you happier. It keeps your mind off things that aren't so joyful. And would you, since I dropped the remote, would you move the slide, please, for me? One down. Thank you. And this isn't the greatest photo. When I put it on a slide, we could have adjusted a bit more, but you get it. That's me, of course, there on the right, and a friend on the left. And Dan and I had been invited a few years ago to an anniversary party for the Wilsons. And Helen's here this morning, and she and JR were having their anniversary party, and one of their dear friends, came up to me while we were there, and she asked if I would pray for her or with her. She had breast cancer. And I did not know that her husband was standing in the background somewhere with a camera in his hands. And later, the actual photograph is beautiful, and I've come to treasure it. But I used this morning because you don't need any words there, do you? You don't need any words. You see that there are two people there. Their hearts are merged, and they're both praying for the same thing. And that's all I wanted to leave you with this morning, is that communication isn't always spoken. Many times it's the communication that comes from your body language. I would watch it. And the other ways that you communicate. What's your verbal language too? But I can tell you this, if we ever want peace in the world, it's going to have to start with you and me. Thank you for your time.